Insane in the membrane.
Welcome to the show, everybody. It's your old pal, Rich Wilson, and this week I'm joined by Sugarcoated Sisters, Chloe and Tabby. How are you?
Hello. We're really well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. I nearly keep saying Sugar Spun Sister because it's a Stone Roses song. It's in my head from 30 years ago.
Yeah, someone called us the Sugar-Free Sisters the other day. We were like, oh, that's kind of the opposite of what we're going for. But
Yeah. I was looking at your the stuff for your show that you've got on at the Soho Theatre. Congratulations. That's all right, isn't it?
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, amazing. And straight away, I know, having to write a quick bio for the show. So there's a lot in a short space of time. Like straight away, you cover so much ground. Bipolar, diabetes, and then it's straight in, and then it was musical thing, and then it was like, and we haven't had sex for 2 years. I was like, well, all right, cool. That's all right. That tells you all you need to know. So is that the show summed up? Is it?
Well, that's interesting because we actually didn't put that in our Edinburgh run copy, but it's true that we haven't had sex in 2 years. And yeah, we just thought, oh yeah, sex and love addiction and codependency and all of that stuff. It's in the show, but we didn't really push it that much. So we were like, better put that in too.
Right. Is that why it's at the end? It's kind of
yeah.
Oh, by the way.
Yes.
Do you know what? It's funny. I ended up talking about sex addiction. I'm not, by the way. I think I accidentally got sent to one of the like Alcoholics Anonymous and Sex Addicts Anonymous and things like that. And it was a counsellor that I had briefly, and he said, I think you need to go to this club. And I sort of went along, and there was all like sex addicts and things like that. I'm like, I don't know why I'm here. I'm not this. This isn't. I'm having trouble with relationships. It's not. And
That's interesting. I've been to some of these meetings also. Yeah, I identify more with love addiction, but
that's what they said.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the thing. I thought, I'm not a sex addict though, I don't think. And then somebody said, yeah, but are you addicted to any of your other relationships? Are you addicted to your friendships? Are you addicted to your family relationships? And I was like, no. And they were like, well, who are you addicted to? And I was like, oh yeah, people I'm having sex with. Damn it. So I realised that that's actually quite closely correlated.
I think it was that. It was the sort of. I was addicted to not necessarily addicted, but I loved the kind of the beginning of a relationship. When you first meet someone and it's all exciting and all that. And that was a bit that I was focusing on. And then after a while, when that goes away, I was like, okay, now what? And kept fucking it all up. So, yeah. But to sit there in a room full of people that are sex addicts, I was like, I don't really think they should be in a room together.
To be fair, they are all really good looking. That's what I have found.
Well, yeah.
it's important work. It's important work, the things that they do in these rooms. And actually, it really helped me. I went to my first sex and love addicts meeting during lockdown. And I remember thinking, oh, wow, this makes so much sense. I actually haven't thought about it that much. But now that I've come to think of it, maybe actually that's one of my main problems in my life. And I hadn't really thought about it like that until I heard other people talking about it and thought, wow, I really relate, actually.
And I'm not a sex or love addict, but I do whatever Chloe does. So I've just by proxy, accidentally, not had sex for 2 years. So I'm just on the journey with her.
Very supportive. That is very supportive.
Well, we shared a room with bunk beds for a year, last year. In the lead up to the Fringe. So I think that's partly why as well. We just don't really have the time or space.
No, we don't.
No. Having done that myself when I was growing up with my brother, there's a lot of politics goes on with a bunk bed. Like especially when you're younger and you want to be on the top and there's a fight. There's always a fight.
True. But now that we're older and we just need wheeze all the time during the night, it's actually whoever gets to sleep on the bottom.
Yeah, and it's usually me because Tabby, since she was very young, has always had an obsession of having, a high up bed. Even right now, I'm looking at her bed and it's like basically in the sky. I don't know why. She would made, she likes tree houses, that type of thing
up there.
Yeah.
It's like being up in the sky, up in the clouds. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember one of the earliest children's books I had was, and it was very progressive for its time. It was a mum, and she was always telling her kid to pick his stuff up, tidy his room, and then one day she sort of looked up at the lights, and she was like, oh, maybe. Then the kid said, I want to live where the spider lives, in the light. And so the mum went down and she got these blocks of wood and she was cutting them up, and she made this bed on stilts, and then so the kid was up where the spider was, and he had all this space to play with. It was a really good book considering it was written in the 70s.
Oh, that is. Cool. I think I would like
that.
Yeah,
you actually go back in time. And...
yeah, just have a bed right up high above everything, so you can just leave all your shit everywhere all over the floor.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Are you tidy with it? Do you keep it tidy, or is it just carnage if you're living in it?
No, not really. Yeah.
We're not very tidy people.
No.
Well, our whole family actually are not very tidy people, except our little sister has got really super duper organised since she's been at university.
Right.
So she always shames us when she comes round. So we have to tidy for her.
But that's one of the good, it's one of the good things about, we asked her to sort of be the producer for our show, and she was like really excited. She was like, I'll get a clipboard, I'll make lists. And we were like, cool, because we don't want to be doing that. So, she's got very useful skills. She also really likes, one of our cats, and it's kind of her cat really, but it lives with our family, and she's just always asking for pictures and stuff like that. And when she comes home to tidy the kitchen, her main priority is always clearing this space, all of these spaces on the counters, to make sure that the cat has somewhere to lie down.
Right.
Which the cat never does have somewhere to lie down, so it works out quite well.
The cat must be stressed.
It is.
I mean, there's you two, you're being, on one side you're just being free. I don't need to be restricted with all this need to put things away and tidy up, and But do you not find it stressful trying to find stuff?
Yes.
Well, I know where everything is within the mess. I know which pile of stuff it's under. I know what the different piles are. So it's quite good, except actually in the mess, I have lost one really important prop for our show.
Right.
That we've been looking for a good 3.5 weeks now, that I can't find anywhere. And that's one thing that I have zero recollection of where it could be. So it does have its downsides.
Your wardrobe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some costumes from our Edinburgh show that we actually have not washed yet. And the Soho show's coming up in a week, and we need to go and wash them, We had our tech rehearsal yesterday, and we got them out, and we were like, oh my God. To be fair, they smell a little bit less now than they did because of just being in the air.
Being in the air.
We need to properly wash them.
So have you played Soho Theatre before?
No, it's our first time. Yeah.
So you have this prestigious, this you've reached this level where you're playing Soho Theatre, and it's a big deal. I remember when I did it, and I was so excited. I went and bought myself a new jumper because I was playing Soho Theatre, and you're digging out your outfits from August and blowing them off. Well, that'll be fine. That'll be
right.
fine.
No
Just
one
Febreze
can smell us. Yeah, exactly.
Go on.
It took us quite a long time to recover from the Fringe run, I think. So it's like we'll put those things out of sight, out of mind for a little bit, and then when Soho contacted us in January, we were like, oh wow, we are actually going to do this show quite soon.
Yeah.
And then by the time the show rolls round, yesterday when we had our tech rehearsal, we were thinking, oh my God, it's actually been about 7 months since the Fringe, but it feels like last month.
Yeah.
It just the time just all merges into one kind of mess.
It does. I think last year's Edinburgh Fringe was very stressful. I think a lot of us physically or mentally put our stuff to one side, left it in bags, and went, I'll deal with that later on, because that was hard work. I'm not gonna lie to you, that was fucking hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so everybody felt the same. I feel I've had lots of conversations with different comedians and performers, and they've all said the same thing. Last year's was brutal.
Yeah, that's the impression that we get also. I mean, we don't really have much to sort of compare it to because it was our debut.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We've been before when we were younger and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But our act, it's quite new. It's only been 2 years, and we only started playing live this time last year, almost.
Really?
Yeah.
Although,
we're real sisters, so we grew up together, and
Imagine that's the big reveal, actually.
Surprise, surprise. But, you know, so I play guitar and Tabby plays double bass. So we've played together quite a lot when we were growing up, you know, in a little folk band and stuff like that. So it's not really our first time on stage or anything like that. But it was our debut as this act, a comedy act.
Yeah. I think I think last year's Edinburgh was one of the most stressful that I've ever experienced. I've been going up there since 2014 doing shows. And last year's was a hard one. I think this year's might be better. Might be a bit more. Because there's other factors we have to deal with. So I think if you're going to go again, I think it might be all right this time. Everything might have settled down a little bit. Maybe it's still going to be hard. Don't get me wrong. You're still going to come back in tears and you know, question your life choices, but not as much as last year. I think you might get your outfits out of your suitcases a bit earlier.
Okay, fair. Yes, that makes sense.
You get them out in January, maybe. You know.
Wow.
So yeah, you grew up together, and you gig together. Do you find that hard as sisters? Because I know I've got brothers and sisters, and we love each other dearly, but we don't really see each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's very rare that people sort of relate to our relationship. You know, a lot of the time, the first thing people say is, "Wow, oh my God, you are in an act with your sister. That must be so horrible. I can't even talk to my sister for 1 minute without a fight erupting and blah blah blah." But we've got a very sort of unique relationship in a way, because I didn't like her when she was first born. You know, I wasn't happy about it. I felt really upset.
This seems like news.
Yeah, is it? No, but you know, I was quite a sensitive child, and I was a bit like, "What do you mean, Mum? Like, why am I guess apparently, I mean, I can't remember. I was only 2, but my mum says that she sensed I was very upset, but was trying to hide it. And I think that this is actually quite a common thing in the eldest child. And I've spoken, you know, my therapist way back when was often explaining that it can lead to certain patterns when you're older, when you're the eldest child, as any, you know, the youngest child has the same thing, the middle child has the same thing. But yeah, no, we were just always really close, really best friends since we were young, really. And it's, you know, we just are one person now, really. We've kind of morphed. It's not like a long-term thing, but I'm sure we'll sort of find our own personalities again. But for the time being, we're kind of just at a really good symbiosis or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that the right word?
Yeah, it's quite. Yeah. I was just going to say it's quite interesting as well, like the difference between, you know, we took our band incredibly seriously when we were younger. Like, you know, it was folk pop, and we thought, you know, it was the be all and end all. And we played quite a lot of festivals in the UK, and we we won a Brit Class Act Award for like teenagers when we were 13 and 15. And, you know, we really, it was super serious, you know, be quiet audience. We're playing you some genius music right now, you know. And now with musical comedy, it's the complete opposite. It's like, you know, laugh, you bastards, like make some noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really interesting how much it's just gone, you know, it's done a 180 of like what we kind of need when we're on stage. So yeah, it's a really weird change.
But back to your question about the sisterhood, you know, we're in a bit of a codependent vibe at the moment, I would say, because we spend basically all of our time together, watch TV series together, eat together. We're basically together like literally 95% of the time. Like when Tabby has to go and hang out with her friends, I like don't know what to do with myself. But you know, so we're in that kind of zone. But I'm sure we'll get back to normal sort of.
I mean, do you and your brother we together?
No.
What?
What
do you mean?
I think my brother would find it extremely odd if I, 1, turned up, and 2, just went, right, I need a piss, you're coming. Do you need a piss? We might as well go together. Is that what you do?
That's exactly what we do.
Well, do you know what? My wife will hate me for saying this, but where our lounge is at the minute, with the bathroom door is right, so we watch the telly there, and then the bathroom door is right there, and a lot of the time she'll go in there and leave the door open, and she's just like, I just want to make sure you're there. I feel safer when you're around.
Oh, that's really cute.
Now we pee with the door open. She'll hate me for saying that.
No, sure she'll forgive you. It's a nice thing, you know. Yeah, it's nice.
It shows a comfort, and it shows a a level of relaxation, like you're comfortable around each other, and if you can just, I suppose you don't even think about it, do you? You just go, and the other one just happens to be there.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. It's just very unusual. For me, it's not unusual for you. It's unusual for me because like I say, I've got a brother and a sister, and we all love each other very much. We don't see each other very often, and we don't really message each other and things like that. We're not particularly close in that aspect, but so it's quite unusual for me to meet people that, especially sisters, that are together all the time. Does that not get stressful at all?
Not really. I mean, we have about we realised this was true once, and now this is sort of what we always say when somebody asks us. But we basically have a massive fight, like about twice per year, and then the rest of the time it's pretty chill.
Not super massive,
not like huge,
not like
physical or anything,
but just like a bit of a storming off kind of moment.
Yeah. But then the other one storms off, but you storm off together.
And then we meet up later in the bathroom for a quick.
That's it. Yeah, you're kind of apology piss, kind of. Yeah. Feel better
I'm
now.
sorry.
Yeah. Nice.
I've been hanging out with my dad too much.
Oh,
man.
that
I'm
was
on
a
the dad
proper
joke train.
Yeah. That was a proper dad pun. Well done. But so the other things in your bio, you were talking about diabetes and you were talking about bipolar. How do they play a factor in your relationship? Like who's diabetic?
Me, Tabby.
You are.
Yeah.
And is that what do you call it? The other one. What's the one? It's the one you're born with. Is it that one? Type 1.
So there's type 1 and type 2. So you can be born with type 1 diabetes, but I'm not. Mine's not genetic.
Okay.
No one in my family has it. And I basically developed early onset adult diabetes, which is basically, for some reason, loads of people develop type 1 diabetes when they're about 17, 18 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and basically my immune system just accidentally attacked the cells in my pancreas. So now I just have an organ that doesn't do its job, that doesn't work. Yeah, so I inject myself with insulin manually. Well, I used to, but 2 years ago I got an insulin pump. So now I just have this little machine that just sends me. There you go. You see it there? It sends insulin through a tube, which is incredible technology. And I was really, really lucky. I'm so grateful to the NHS because they've, saved my life many times from my diabetes, and it makes my life so much easier, particularly being on stage, because I used to panic quite a lot when I worked as a musical theatre actress, because I would check my blood sugar and it would be fine. And then I'd go on stage for a dance number, and halfway through the dance number, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And I'd have to go and glug a Lucozade. So now it's just really lovely being on stage and having my blood sugar reading is always being sent to my phone every 2 minutes. So I can kind of track myself.
Wow.
Which is just incredible. But one of the main things about the diabetes is when I was diagnosed at 17, it was kind of at the time when all of my friends were going out, had passed their driving tests, were going out to festivals in the summer, taking loads of drugs, staying up all night drinking. And I was like, oh, I'm suddenly just so aware of my own mortality. Like I'm actually completely in control of whether I live or die. Because if I don't inject for a couple of days, I'll die. So
really,
that's fun.
just fall into a diabetic coma and.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and I started thinking things like, if there was a zombie apocalypse, literally I would die. So, what am I going to do? If I was in a shipwreck, don't save me. There's no point, because in a few days I'll be dead. So, it's a bit existential, really.
That's a lot to take on at a young age.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. So did that stop you going out and doing the things that you're not supposed to do? Or did you kind of just have to be aware, just kind of balance it out? You go, all right, I'm going to get off my head, but I need to make sure there's a Mars bar in my pocket or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I did. I had some fun. My friends were amazing as well when I was diagnosed, and they'd all kind of be on it together. They'd all have snacks in their purse. They all knew how to work my blood checking machine. So they'd always check on me if we had a late night and went to bed in the morning. They'd always wake me up and be like, "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" But it was more just the anxiety, of suddenly knowing that you have a chronic illness that especially one that there's so much stigma about, you know, like, oh, you've got diabetes, you're going to end up with no legs, or you're going to go blind, and blah, blah, blah. Were you an obese child? You know, all of these things that you get asked quite frequently, just kind of builds up. But I think that's part of the reason why, well, Chloe with her bipolar as well, but you know, you kind of do, comedy is such a release for me, because you know, everyone else is making their jokes about diabetes, so actually back off, man. I'm going to make them instead.
But you're right, there is that assumption that if you've got diabetes is because you've led an unhealthy lifestyle. Led an unhealthy life, and it's not. It's just a question of your immune system doing weird things, and it comes from that. And it's we do need to have more of a conversation, because I don't really know much about diabetes. I know people. I remember when I was at school, there was a kid, Jason West, and he always had to have biscuits on him. I couldn't work out. He told me why, but it still didn't make sense to me. He was always like, "Oh, I'm diabetic," so I was always like, "Oh, you've had too much sugar," and then he'd have to have a biscuit, and I go, "But that's too much sugar." So I didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, I really had no idea about diabetes. And basically, it's about a mile walk to the train station in our town, maybe just under. Yeah. And when I was at sixth form, I couldn't do the walk to the train station without stopping in about 4 corner shops and buying a 2-litre bottle of water and downing it.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's a bit weird that I'm so thirsty all the time. You know, that's kind of not normal. So I got home, and I remember I had been telling my mum, complaining about how thirsty I was and how my vision was going a bit blurry, and I thought I needed glasses maybe, and you know, I just couldn't sleep because I needed to wee all through the night because I was drinking so much water. Yeah. And then she had been to the doctors, and she said, "Oh, I saw a sign in the doctor's surgery that that's one of the symptoms of diabetes. Why don't you just like look it up?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I typed it into Google. You know, I literally did Google diagnose myself, but I typed into Google, and it came up with the top 7 symptoms of diabetes, and I just was like, my heart sank, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's what it is. That makes so much sense."
Wow.
So yeah,
and isn't it funny when you suddenly, because you suffer with it for a bit, any kind of illness or malady, and you kind of, you know, but when someone actually turns around and says, "Oh, it's because of this," even when they say the words, straight away there's a relief. You kind of go, "Oh, that understanding of right," and you automatically, you immediately start to feel better. Or do you know what I mean? It's a really, really weird thing when it happens.
It is. It's so interesting. And then, you know, I think if it had kind of ended there, then it would have been okay. But I actually went to the doctors to talk to them. And you know, I think partially because I was a young girl, you know, they really medically gaslit me and told me I was wasting doctors' time, and I should stop being a drama queen, and I was just trying to miss school, and I should go home. Wow. And they actually refused to give me a blood test there and then. And then 6 days later, they were ringing my mum saying, "Get her an ambulance immediately because she's actually got diabetes. Whoops, sorry, lol."
Oh my God.
Not to tell you.
Ooh, butterfingers.
Yeah, exactly. So I could have avoided being, my blood sugar got so high that I was ketoacidosis, which is where your blood basically goes a bit, you know, acidic-y. You know, super, super high sugar, bad for your organs. You know, your heart is trying to pump this like heavy sugary blood around your body. And it can cause long-term damage. So I was in hospital for about 10 days when I was diagnosed with that problem. And I just remember thinking, wow, if that doctor had just believed me and just taken 5 minutes to give me a little finger prick blood test, we could have avoided that. But yeah, so it's an issue we're very passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not surprised. I mean, it's that taking it on at such a young age and having that responsibility, and then, you know, because you're a kid, no one takes you seriously, you know, before that. So they were like, "Yeah, whatever, you're just, you know, taking a piss." That was when I was growing up, I didn't tell people if there was something wrong, because I knew that it wouldn't make any difference. They kind of go, "No, you're just trying to get a day off school." You'd have to be, you know, like in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, there's a bit when the sister says, you know, "It's not fair. You get a day off just because you're sick," and I have to be bleeding out of my eyes. Like there has to be. I'd have to walk into the bedroom with my head under my arms, going, "Mum, something's happened." To then go, "You got a day off." That's all right, fine. You're not well, but it would take that, literally that. So, well, I'm glad. So you've got a handle on it now. You've got the pump.
Yeah.
And that's easier to manage. And
Yeah.
do you have to keep an eye on? Does it let you know when the levels are low so you can fill it up? And
Yeah,
well,
literally.
yeah.
Yeah, it has like it has 3 different kind of vibrate settings, or you can put sound on it. But I turned off the sound because it was waking Chloe up in the middle of the night, which she didn't appreciate.
No.
So now it just, it vibrates if my blood sugar's high. It vibrates 3 times if my blood sugar's going low. It's just amazing and helps you stay in range. But something so interesting we found as well from posting these, musical comedy versions of our diagnoses online, is, we get thousands of comments of people saying, my 4-year-old son has just been diagnosed and we have a really similar diagnosis story to you. And it's like, sometimes even the people that we have to put so much faith in to like tell us what's wrong with us don't actually necessarily either know all the symptoms that are actually diabetes, and it can present itself slightly differently in different people as well. And there are so many possible things that could be wrong with you if you exhibit the signs of diabetes, because they're quite general sometimes.
Yeah.
Which is why, more and more people now get screened for diabetes when they go into hospital, because it's like, well, if it's that's actually, we can fix that. So make sure it's not that. But, seeing these thousands of people that all had a similar story to me, I was like, wow, that's really interesting, actually. And a lot of them were young women.
Right, okay.
Which I thought was really interesting as well.
Yeah. Why? I wonder why it's particularly more women. I mean, to be honest, it's men again. Men won't go to the doctor.
Yeah.
So the chances of them getting diagnosed before it's too late are very slim. I literally went to the doctors about a month ago because my wife. I just casually said to my wife, I think I'm kind of showing the symptoms for diabetes. I'm a bit worried, and she's like, go to the doctor. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. I said, and like you did, I've Googled it and it keeps coming up. And I'm like, she's like, so the next thing, because I'm a giant baby, she's like, right, you've got to go and see the doctor on Friday morning. I'm like, all right, thanks. And I went and we did the test and things like that. It just turns out I didn't drink enough water. So a lot of the symptoms from being dehydrated are also very similar to diabetes, like the fatigue, things, your urine, dry skin.
Yeah.
I wasn't hydrating. So there's that as well. Get hydrated, people, and then see what your symptoms are like. But keep an eye on it because no one wants to lose their feet. Come on, that's what we talked about at the beginning.
Yeah.
No one wants to do it. It's always feet as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
So well, I'm glad you've got a handle on it, and it's good that you're talking about it because, as you say, obviously it's a big issue, and now thousands of people are feeling more confident about talking about it as well. So that's great. Nice work.
Thanks.
Yeah, lovely work. And so you were talking about being bipolar.
Yes.
Now, how did that? I mean, I don't know much about that. I don't know much about these things as I'm not a trained doctor. So how did that come about? How did you know? How did you know to look for that? What happened?
Yeah, well, basically my maternal uncle had bipolar. So I never met him because unfortunately he died.
I'm sorry.
And basically I always thought that I might have bipolar because I just kind of thought, well, the symptoms of mania or hypomania seem kind of like accurate to what I sometimes feel. I sometimes feel very sort of fizzy in my brain and very creative, and my thoughts sort of race quite a lot. And I don't necessarily not enjoy it. Sometimes I feel quite happy to be sort of in this weird state, and sometimes I sort of would be saying weird things to people, like I feel like every atom in my body is vibrating with joy and energy, and I can feel the molecules swimming around, and they'd be like, it's a bit weird. And so I kind of felt this way since I was really young, and bipolar sort of manifests itself slightly later in life, sometimes like in your 20s as opposed to when you're an actual child. But I don't know, I always sort of felt a connection to that, and to when people would describe how my uncle was, I sometimes thought, I feel a bit like that sometimes. And I thought I had bipolar since I was really young because I knew something was a bit perhaps wrong with me, or perhaps a bit different about the way I thought compared to some of my other friends and family. But I wasn't diagnosed until I was 26, and I'm 30 now, and that was 4 years ago. And I went to see psychiatrists and everything when I was maybe like 21 and said, I think I might have bipolar, guys. And they were like, Oh no, I don't think so.
Really?
I think that, yeah, it's the same thing. I was medically gaslit.
Yeah.
They didn't.
Wow.
They just thought I had other stuff wrong with me, and I was like, but it literally can run in the family, and I've literally got it in the family. So don't you think that? And then, yeah, don't you think we should look into it? But eventually, I was told by quite like forcefully, give up on this thing. I don't think you've got that. I think you're just depressed with, anxiety. And I was like, oh, okay. So I really like suddenly thought, okay, maybe everyone else is right. Maybe I'm wrong with this like gut feeling. I think maybe I'm wrong. So I just kind of sort of gave up on it for a while.
Yeah.
But then I entered a hypomanic episode again. Quite a sort of severe one. My family were kind of like, are you on drugs? Like, my little sister, not Tabby, the other one, she kind of said, are you on drugs? And if so, can I have some? Because, I was just
it was obviously a good high you seemed to be on.
It was a good high for me at the time, but I'm quite self-aware in general. So if I am feeling high, sometimes I kind of know that I'm feeling high, and I can kind of somewhat sense that it probably isn't going to last like this.
Yeah.
And it's kind of good and bad. It's not all good, mania. People sometimes think that mania is super fun, but it's not. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not.
No.
So yeah, I finally was diagnosed, but it took quite a lot of sort of like work. I think it's because bipolar people often only go to the doctors when they're feeling down, as opposed to when they're feeling up. So it's quite hard to catch.
Feel the need, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite difficult to recognize if you say to a doctor when you're feeling down, especially when you're feeling down, you say to a doctor, sometimes I feel really weirdly up and like fuzzy and fizzy. They're like, don't you think so? So
right.
It's not easy to catch, but it's like ridiculous how little, and that's so many bipolar people when we post videos online about it say, oh my god, it took me 10 years to get diagnosed, or they say I'm 50 and I was only diagnosed last year. And there should be more known about it, probably, because the diagnosis process is not good.
No, I think, well, I don't know much about that either. I have a vague idea of what it is to be bipolar. And that's the thing is that you are bipolar. It's not, you don't have it, you are it.
Well, actually, that's not quite true.
No.
A lot of people would rather say I have bipolar than I am bipolar, because it's one of those things where, it's not something that completely defines me. And I just have it. I personally do say I have bipolar as opposed to I am bipolar. Although some bipolar people do choose to say that too, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. See, conversations like that, because I don't know.
No, it's all good. It's good to discuss these things.
This is it. This comes up quite a bit on this podcast. Because sometimes you just got to just say how you say it. Just say, I don't understand that. Is it this or is it that? Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, people are going to be cool with it. It's like with pronouns and things like that. It's just very easy to go, so what are your pronouns? Just so I know going forward. Totally. And it's going to be clumsy the first time you do it, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. And then we get to find out stuff like that. So just little bits like that. And now I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's fair. It's one of so when you're so do you know when it's starting to happen? Because I know we've had Richard Hardesty on, and I was talking to him about it, and he's had like really manic episodes where he's just walked to Margate. Like his whole show, Silly Boy, is about one of these this particular manic episode that he had. Can you feel it starting to come on?
Well, I'm medicated now, so now I'm on lithium, and another thing as well, lamotrigine, and so I don't really get manic anymore. So it's hard for me to sort of remember, but I can sometimes feel it coming on if I'm in a really high pressure situation. Funnily enough, the performing live, sometimes once it's over, I feel really happy and sort of I'm a bit high from the sort of stage and from the connecting to people. And I do sometimes feel a bit of what I call it is I feel like streaks of mania, Right. And I think also because I have bipolar, I think I remember what it's like to be in a hypomanic episode, and I remember what it's like to be really, really depressed. So I think that my ability to sort of flick between the extremes of the spectrum are a little bit higher than somebody without bipolar. So I can kind of remember how that could have occurred.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really scare me that much, because I sometimes think, well, it's not a bad thing to have tiny streaks. Like, it's almost all right, because it keeps me sort of calibrated.
Yeah,
keeps me
absolutely.
sort of aware of the spectrum of things I could feel.
Yeah.
But it's just nice to not stay there and get lost there for weeks or months or whatever.
I know what you mean. But I think that being a performer, I think we all have that kind of euphoria afterwards. And sometimes I don't know how to deal with it. If it's been especially good, you're just like, I don't know what to fucking do with this. I don't know what to, and it's a strange one, isn't it? What we do, and sometimes I'll get like after a gig, and I'll be like, oh, that was great, really enjoyed that. But sometimes I'm just like absolutely just buzzing, and you just go, I don't know what to do with this energy now. And
so what do you do?
I just have to kind of. I end up I'll either go and have a drink with some friends. I'll say, look, you around? Is anyone around? Can we go and have a drink? Or I'll just take a walk back to the station and put some music on, and I'll just calm down, and just like get my head together and go, that was fun. That was good fun. Yeah. Whereas years ago, I would have just gone nuts, and it wouldn't have been just like anyone around. It was like, right, we need to go and do something. Let's make a phone call. Let's get naughty. And I'd go off and press the fuck it switch.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, Richard Hardesty's on. He talks about lithium, and what did you say it was?
Lamotrigine.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what he called it. That's what he was.
Well, it's Lamictal as well. There's like the brand name, and then there's the medicine itself name. It's all very complicated, the medicine side. I can't. I'm gonna go and check that out actually, because I really want to hear.
You actually bumped into him on the Royal Mile.
Oh wow, that's so cool.
Remember
when we chatted about it?
Yeah, and he said, "What's your show about?" You said, "Oh well, I've got
bipolar." And he said, "Me too."
Oh my God, me too.
Yeah.
Oh right. Oh, that's so cool.
That's Richard Hardesty, and even when I spoke to him before, I spoke to him earlier, and he'd said he had a moment. He was just, I'm up at the minute, and I'm buzzing, and you're like, yeah, I know, I can see, but he's not, he's not taking his trousers off and walking to Margate, which is good. So you've got a handle on it now, and you've got the medication.
Yes, something that's really helped is, I stopped drinking 3.5 years ago now, which has really helped sort of level me out.
Yeah.
And the sort of looking into my love addiction has really helped as well. Yeah. And I just wanted to clarify from earlier on, if you're in recovery from love addiction, you don't have to stop having sex and stop having relationships or anything like that. That's not how you solve the problem. But you just start to become more aware of sort of the damaging behavior that you do, and you kind of just stop doing that.
Yeah.
So, I could have sex if I wanted to, and I could get into a relationship if I wanted to, but it would have to follow certain rules that I sort of make.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
So,
and they would have to be happy to cohabit with me also.
Yeah. It's an interesting situation that people are going to be getting involved in.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes we're walking down the street and I catch a saucy stranger's eye, and I kind of think, ooh, and then Tabby kind of like holds my hands, pretending that she's my lover.
We do get mistaken for lovers quite often.
Right. I mean, yeah. I suppose
I don't mind.
You have to. I mean, if one of you brought someone back, and you go, I'm just gonna listen. My sister's asleep in the top bunk. We can. What? She'll be fine. She's got headphones on. What?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like a little dog, at the door waiting for her to come home. Like, hello.
Who's this?
Yes, that hasn't happened yet. Maybe it will one day.
Well, maybe it will.
Tonight.
And that's it. Going back to what you were saying about with the sex and love addiction, and I wasn't poo-pooing those meetings. It's very important for people. I know people that still go to them, and it just wasn't for me. I wasn't a sex addict. I was just addicted to the beginning of a relationship, and now I'm, again, like you've just said, I'm very much aware of what I'm like. So instead of running away, like meeting someone and going, right, we're moving in together, this is the best thing ever, you're the one, which is what I used to do. And then suddenly we moved in together like really quickly, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, I've done it again. And then not being embarrassed, not being able to, didn't want to make that person feel shit, but then I'd make it shit because I can't explain myself. And that's what kept happening. So then I had to go, I went to the meetings, and the meetings did help. I went to one couple in London and then one in Manchester when I was there. And I did find it helped just to know that other people are going through similar things.
Yeah.
You know, I think that was it.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, you know, if it gets to the point where you feel really, really suicidal about, you know, a breakup or something similar, or your relationship's not going well, so it's just absolutely ruining your life and your mental state, then it is really something to look into.
Yeah.
And the thing is to say, it all sort of like works together, doesn't it? You know, like my bipolar, I'm medicated and I'm sort of not drinking and sort of dealing with my unhealthy relationship patterns. So it all kind of feeds into each other. But sometimes I do sort of feel a little bit like, God, I'm being so good. Life is so boring right now. But then I have to remind myself of all of the good things that have happened only because I'm sort of working on my mental state and trying to stay sane. And, you know, it's not really worth throwing it all away.
No, I think that's the key, isn't it? Is to remind yourself of where you're at, what you've got, and not press the fuck it switch, which is what we all do. And it could be either way. It could be you're feeling down, so you go, fuck it, I'm going to treat myself, I'm going to go and do whatever. Or I'm feeling really good, fuck it, I'm going to go and do. And so it's walking that fine line. It's so hard to do, isn't
100%.
it? Yeah.
To kind of you know, me and Chloe were both quite intense people, and you know, we were really like focused in the lead up to the Fringe. You know, we were just so worried about the show and just being in Edinburgh in general, and just, you know, will we lose our voices because our show's sung through, and you know, that's really important to us. That, you know, what if Chloe breaks her finger and she can't play guitar, our show would be ruined. You know, all these what ifs.
Extremes.
Yeah. All of these what ifs, you know, that every performer goes through, you know, to some extent in the lead up. And while we were at the Fringe, I wasn't drinking either, mostly because I was so worried about, you know, my voice and just my stamina for the month of performing every day, and also partly as well, you know, because Chloe can't drink, so you know, it's not really fun if I'm getting really drunk after every show, like, woo, one more down, and Chloe's just there having like a mint tea. But like I really did notice how much I struggled kind of in a social setting without the kind of blanket of having a couple of beers, or standing there at an awkward event, but you've got a kind of, you know, glass of lukewarm Prosecco that just sort of gives you that armor of being able to say hello to people. And I was like, wow, fuck, this is so anxiety inducing, like not having the ability to kind of blow off steam by drinking, or being a little bit braver when you've had a drink. And it gave me like a whole new respect for Chloe. Because like since we've started this career, like she hasn't had a drink. Because I remember our first live performance that we had done was the first round of the Musical Comedy Awards last year, and
wow,
and we were both shitting ourselves, weren't we, Chloe? We were so scared, because also it was just after the pandemic, just as the world was opening up. So not only had we not performed together in about 10 years, we also just hadn't really gone out and seen anyone. And after that show, I had a lot to drink, because I was just like, the relief, you know, just the relief of having performed and got it out and managed to not fuck up too badly. You know, and it was just like, God. And Chloe just has the same amount of fun, but she's sober, and then the next day she's the one laughing because she wakes up like shiny eyed, like, good morning, and everyone else is really horribly hungover. So we're kind of like finding new ways to sort of treat ourselves after a big event. Chloe has a new hobby, which is salsa dancing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I just basically, you know, Tabby's sort of a trained dancer because she studied musical theatre and stuff. So even when she was young, she was doing, you know, some dancing when she was growing up. But I've just never really done dancing. I was doing like classical guitar and stuff like that instead, or writing songs or whatever on my guitar too. Or horse riding or whatever. And so basically I just decided, well, I better start learning how to dance just in case we go to work with dance. Just in case, I don't know, just in case what?
Just in case what, yeah.
But it's just we find ourselves in a dance battle.
Yes.
You never know when it's going to happen. That's the thing with these things. They just come out of nowhere.
It's because sometimes, you know, like we collaborate online with, you know, other musical theatre people, and then they're like, right, and now let's do a little dance step, and I'm like, I don't know what that entails. What is that? Step will change who? You know, I don't know. So I thought, I'm just going to learn a bit of salsa just to improve my coordination. And now, I'm obsessed. I have 4 pairs of salsa shoes. I have about 10 different salsa dresses, and I'm always, you know, I begged Tabby to come with me and dance as the man, so that I can practice at home. And she did. So now I'm just always being like, let's dance salsa, Tabs. And she loves it too now, so it's all good.
Oh, lovely. So your first live gig, was at the awards thing, you said?
Yes.
And so before that, what were you doing? Was this on TikTok that you sort of started?
Yes. This was, you know, it was all a big accident. You know, it wasn't a mistake. Like, obviously, we don't regret it. It's a good mistake. But basically, it was just completely random. Tabby and me, we were both upset. I was depressed because I had the last interaction I had with my love addict, you know, situation partner. So I was really upset. And then Tabby got dumped as well.
Over text.
What?
Yeah, I got dumped over text in that Christmas lockdown. You know, the like second lockdown we had, the end of November one. I'd been seeing this guy for like 6 months at this point, 7 months maybe, and he just dumped me over text. It was really awkward.
Wow.
And me and Chloe had just moved in together in Brighton, where you're from.
That's where I'm living. Yeah.
Well, we're from Hove, actually.
Hove, actually, that's what it's called as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hove, actually.
Yeah. So we were living together in this little flat in Hove, and we couldn't go outside because we were in our second Christmas lockdown, and we'd both just had these horrible experiences with our lovers. And
like Tabby was a bit more depressed than me, which is normally the other way around. You know, normally she's the nurturer of the relationship. She cooks for us, does more of the cleaning. I say more because it's not much. As discussed previously.
Move the piles.
That's it. I've just tidied up. There we go. There's a space for the cat.
So anyway, because she was so depressed, I was like doing my best to cook really horrible things. But you know, I was trying. I was cooking like tortellini, only 3 minutes in the pan. You know, it was good. I was trying my best, and I kind of found some TikTok challenges. And Tabby's really strong. She always has been. She's like very muscular. And I was like, oh, Tabby, there's some little, you know, weightlifting exercises here. Can we try them out? You know, we should join TikTok and try it. And she was just like, what? And she thought it was really weird. But then we did. And then
it turned out there are actually only about 3 ways I can physically lift my sister above my head.
Which is a sentence I didn't think I'd hear today.
You know, we kind of thought this would be our new thing, and like every day we could post a new cool move. But I mean, fuck me, it's really hard. And so, you know, 3 days in, we were like, okay, we're going to have to think of a new niche because this isn't going to work. And we just got this idea in our head. We had just been, you know, we just wrote a musical parody to a Coldplay song about our exes, and we filmed it like really quite crappily on our phones, and we recorded the audio through our like headphone microphone on GarageBand, and edited it together and posted it on TikTok, and it went viral.
Right.
Yeah, but the thing is that we didn't know what TikTok was for. I had only just seen these random weightlifting challenges. I thought it was just lip syncing, stuff like that. But once we actually were on it, we were like, oh my goodness, there's like acting and music. Oh my goodness, we could get involved. Let's do that. So that's sort of why we just didn't know what it was. And then once we did know what it was, we were like, wow, we should be creating on this app. It's amazing. So we did. So we did that one. Then we did some Chicago parodies, modern day Chicago, about dating apps, Hinge, Tinder, etc. And that sort of really took off. And then we were like, wow, let's just keep going. And we did.
Those parodies were the ones that broke the kind of million mark, you know. So they went viral enough that people we actually knew started posting them on Instagram and sending us messages saying, is this you? And we were like, oh shit, actually, I mean, we posted it to our 10 followers on TikTok, but now they've blown up and kind of gone across to another platform. So
I've seen the Coldplay one. Yeah. And I've forgotten I'd seen it until you mentioned it.
That's not our best work.
We've got better since then.
It was good enough. Someone sent it to me. I mean, have you seen this? Yeah. So and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I didn't really. You see so much. You go, oh yeah, that's cool. But it went everywhere. So well done.
Thank you. So I mean, it really kind of gave us the oomph really to start creating again, because we really missed performing together, and we hadn't done it for so long. And it's, you know, it's so weird because I had, you know, when I was at drama school, I really wanted to be a like super serious actress, you know, and you know, I just remember just trying so hard to be taken seriously, and you know, it wasn't working. It didn't work out.
So you went the other way.
So I went the other way.
Yeah.
But I remember my mum always used to say, that was so funny. And I'd be like, it wasn't meant to be fucking funny, mum. It's Lady Macbeth. And,
how dare you, mother?
How dare you? You know, and she would just be like, you should do comedy. You should do comedy. But I found it really daunting. I thought it was really scary. The idea of doing comedy. So I mean this is probably speaks to our codependency issues as well. But the fact that we can do it together makes it a lot more manageable for me, I think.
Is it scary for you still to this day when you get on stage and have to do stand up and stuff like that? Do you think, wow, this might go terribly, I might want to kill myself later? Or are you like, all right?
I'm all right. I'm actually all right, because I've been doing it long enough now. You kind of go, right, 19 years, you know what you're doing. You know, it's always, if it's a you know, a room you've not played before, there's always an apprehension, and there's always a little bit of, oh yeah, I hope it goes well tonight. I hope they like what I say. You know, every now and again you get it wrong, but those gaps in between the shit gigs get longer. So it's, you know, so that's something to think about. But yeah, if I think about it too much, I did it the other day. I remember just before I went on, this thought just popped into my head. Why the fuck do I do this? And I was like, don't think that. And I was just really, whereas normally just walk out, you see the people, but you don't really see them. You kind of walk out and you kind of like, hey, how you doing? Good to see you, blah, blah, blah. But if you really look, if you have a moment, you look, you go, oh shit. If you think about it too much, you'll fuck yourself up. It's just got try not to think about it too much, because otherwise you'll shit yourself.
Well,
you know.
That's good to hear, because Tabby, maybe in 20 years we'll feel all right about it. But like, we're still sort of very nervous in general. You know, like
I
am always thinking. It's a lot to do with, you know, I'm worried about the sound, and you know, as musicians, I really want to make sure that our words can be heard above the instruments and the tracks. You know, there's a lot of moving parts that always freak me out a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that doesn't go away, and I think it goes away to a certain extent. But what happens is you get the skills to be able to deal with when the tech fucks up. So if the track goes or the sound goes, I can now do a gig without a microphone. I could just do it. In fact, I sometimes prefer it because I'm more free. But you kind of get used to it, and you kind of, if the tech fails, and then the first time it happens, you'll oh shit. But then when you go away and you go, oh, if only I'd have said that would have been funny. If I just, you know. So what happens next? Because that is guaranteed to happen again. And it's like if you get heckled, the first time you get heckled with something, and you don't come back with anything, and you look stupid or you feel stupid, and you'll go away and you go, oh, I should have said that. And I guarantee you that same heckle will come again at some point, and you'll go bang, and everyone goes, "Oh my God, where did that come from?" They don't know that you've been sitting on that for 6 months. You know that
you've gone over every possibility in the shower. Like, wow, if I had said that, if only I'd come up with that.
Exactly, and then suddenly, boom! And it was like, "Oh my God, that was so spontaneous." Like, so you just get all these new skills to be just present in the room with what's going on, and not to worry if it fucks up. You just make it part of the show and just go with it. You know, it all comes with stage time, and that's the most important thing. Stage time and just not being a prick to everybody. If you can manage that, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Something really interesting that I found as well is like when we make our videos, you know, we're the director, we and our mum and dad sometimes are the cameramen. You know, we do the audio, we do the lighting, we set up all the angles, you know, we do the editing, we do the captions, we do the everything.
Yeah.
And it's very much like we're so in control of the product that goes out that it just feels very like we do the work, we put it out there, and then it's done. And then it's like a finished little 45-second thing that, you know, is kind of out there now, so we can kind of forget about it, and people comment on it and whatever. And you know, we are very, very lucky with our TikTok channel that we've tapped into just a really gorgeous community, and it's quite rare that we get horrible comments. And if we do get horrible comments, they're normally from 13-year-old boys saying, you're too old to be on TikTok, we hate you, which whatever. That's fine. Whereas when we're on stage, it's so alive, the comedy. It's like it's a conversation with you and the audience, and they're involved. It's not just sit there and watch us and then say what you want afterwards, but not to us. You can just say it to each other. It's like, they're looking at you like this, and you can literally see either the joy or the slight ennui in their eyes. And it's just so magical to be, and frightening, obviously, to be in amongst it.
That's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. And if you overthink it, you'll never do it. But I think that the trick is, like I said, to just be in the moment with your surroundings, and whatever happens. I know you've got a certain, songs go a certain way. You've probably got for the show, it's got a pattern, it's got a trajectory that has to follow and all that sort of thing. But don't be scared if it fucks up, and to come out of it and go, it doesn't normally go like this. I tell you, at this point we're supposed to be doing blah blah blah, but because of this, now we've got to do blah blah blah, and just have fun with it, because then people get an experience as well. They get a show that other people might not get. It's in a moment going, oh, that was funny when the thing fucked up, and then they did the thing, and but that all comes from time and experience, and that'll all come along. But just enjoy it. I think, because if you enjoy it, then the audience enjoys what you're doing. That's the thing with live performances. And I'm just now getting my head around TikTok, just because I kind of never took any notice of it. I kind of put a couple of bits up, didn't take any notice, but now I've had a few people explain to me how you do it. Like, there's a friend of my wife, and he's massive on TikTok, does all these videos about these costumes that he does, and he was explaining to her. So we're moving to Worthing next week, and once we've done that and we get it all set up, then we're going to start doing some stuff. So
well, look, we'll give you some tips if you like.
Yes,
as well.
That'd be lovely.
Some stuff.
Thank you. Because I am, as you just said, because there is that thing where they go, oh yeah, you're too old to be on there. You go, no, you're not. There's loads of different ages on there.
Oh no, you're not at all. You're fine. This is another misconception we had about it. We thought it was going to be young people, but actually there are plenty of people from all ages, and as time goes on, more and more older people are getting on the app anyway. And even with our own audience, people assume that our audience is like teenagers, but it's really not. We have the breakdown of their ages, and the biggest chunk of our audience is people our own age.
Oh wow,
25 to 36 or something.
Yeah, right, there you go.
And there are plenty of there's a lot of 60-year-olds or so on TikTok and 70-year-olds on TikTok, aren't there? And they've made a huge community out of that, and it's really cool.
I think it's fantastic. It's like keeping a positive spin on it all, and then it's taken you to the Soho Theatre, which is incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're really excited.
Yeah,
it's a great space. For our tech yesterday, we were really sort of excited, because once we put all of our little props in there, it felt really like our home for next week, and it felt really awesome.
It's mad, isn't it, that when you get, it's because you've been to shows, you've seen other people doing shows, and it's weird when it's your own stuff and you're setting it up and make sure the lights are just how you want them, and the sound cues, and it's exciting, and I just want you to enjoy every single minute of it.
Oh, thank you.
Honestly, that's all you need to worry about, enjoying it. That's it. Everything else will get taken care of, so don't worry. And so the dates for that are?
It's on the 4th, 5th and 6th of April at 9:15 p.m.
Excellent. And we've got the sohotheatre.com link there. We can link that click that, get some tickets. I've seen the clips of you, and I know it's going to be a brilliant show.
Thanks, Rich. I was feeling a bit, stressed being the week before the show, but I'm really glad we came on today, because I feel a bit better already.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing some wisdom. That's really kind.
Hey, that's what I'm here for. I want to say thank you, Tabby and Chloe, for coming on the show. It's been a real joy. We're going to put the links up where we can find you on the socials, Sugarcoated Sisters, and I just wish you all the best with it. I will say this, learning the double bass. I've always wanted to do that. That's why the double bass?
Oh, well, you see, I was always really jealous of Chloe and our younger brother Alfie, because they're both, stunning guitar players, really, really good.
Right, okay.
And I tried to learn guitar, but my brain and my style of learning was just not up for it. Like I used to get told off for staring out the window at my little brother and sister playing on the trampoline and just being like, why can't I just go and do that? I just didn't like it. And then I had a really lovely music teacher at school who just said to me one day, he said, you're a really good singer. You've got a really good ear. Why don't you try the double bass, because there are no frets.
All right.
And I was like, oh, okay. And so I was like, wow, this is amazing, because there are no frets. So, you know, you learn where to put your fingers and where the frets are, but you kind of use your ear to flip around. And it was a much more easy way for me to kind of get my head around actually playing an instrument. And I just love it. I love it so much. I mean, I don't play it technically very well or very correctly, but I play it in the way that works for me with my pathetic little fingers, you know.
That's the same as me. I've got tiny little hands, and I think they're just little mitts. I don't know how I hang on to anything or do anything. It's rubbish. But I think the double bass is the way to go. I fancy it. I think I'm going to do that. Yeah, that'd be great.
Find a 3/4 sized one. That's what I've got. Because I tried to play a full size one once, and I was like, whoa, okay, I can't even get my hand around that.
It's like trying to play a wardrobe.
Yeah, exactly.
But I want to say thank you both for coming on the show. It's been a real joy. And so, yes, I say, let us know where you are on the socials. Are you on your Instagram, Twitter?
On TikTok, we are at Sugarcoated Sisters. And on Instagram, we are the Sugarcoated Sisters. And on Facebook as well, the Sugarcoated Sisters.
Excellent.
Wow, the producer has done a great job here, because it's right there, right now. I love that. We don't
muck around.
Well done.
Well done, producer Paul.
Thank you.
So thank you, Tabby and Chloe. Thank you so much. Good luck with it all. And I'm sure I'll see you out and about on the circuit. This has been Insane in the Membrane. I've been Rich Wilson. This has been the Sugarcoated Sisters. We'll see you next time.
Insane in the Membrane.
Excellent. Smash that.
Thank you so much.